Okay, so tonight, Be'ezras Hashem, we're going to be beginning again, and we're going to pick up from where we left off, and also beginning from where we left off. We're going to start a new series of Shirim Be'ezras Hashem, and the series of Shirim is going to be titled The Laughter of Yitzchak. The Laughter of Yitzchak, Schrik di Yitzchak. Now, Schrik di Yitzchak, that phrase, the laughter of Yitzchak, is a phrase that's very dear to me. It's not necessarily found in Svarim, but it's Schrik di Yitzchak is something that, two Svarim that I was able to put out. I titled Schrik di Yitzchak because this inyan of the laughter of Yitzchak and the Shirish of Yitzchak in laughter and laughter in Yitzchak is ultimately on a certain level an Iker Nakuda in what I think the Torah HaKadosh is saying, what the Tzaddikim are saying. And Be'ezras Hashem, we should be Zaychet to enter into the world of Yitzchak and to understand a little bit of one individual's understanding of what the tzaddikim are saying about Yitzchak Avinu. Now, obviously, and it goes without saying, that as the Alter Rebbe Schusi Agen Aleinu taught us, that a person has to live with the times, which means to say that what is found in the Torah HaKadosha is not simply a recurrence of events or a recording of events that has taken place in the past, but rather is an experience and an opportunity to experience everything that is written in the Torah in all of its manifold expressions in real time within the individual themselves. Each and every person is an ois in the Torah. Each and every person is a letter that contains all other osios of the Torah. Each person is the Torah themselves, which means to say that everything that is taking place from the beginning of creation till the end of Devarim is ultimately something that is also taking place within the individual on their psycho-spiritual experience in accordance with their own subjective feelings about what these ideas mean to them and their relationship with God. And so when we talk about Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov, when we talk about the forefathers, when the Ramban, when Nachmanides describes Maisa Avos, Siman Labanim, that the events of our forefathers are a sign or a hermeneutical mark that reminds us to contemplate something being hidden here. It's a siman, it points to something. On a certain level, what the tzaddikim say is it's not simply that things that have happened in the past will reoccur in their external casings, but rather the experiences that have happened in the past, every iteration of the Torah throughout Torah Shebechsav, Torah Shebal Peh, is also taking place within the individual as well in their own psychological, neshamadical world. And when we talk about Yitzchak Avinu, when we talk about anything, we're not simply talking about the historical Yitzchak, the son of Avram and the father of Yaakov, which we're also talking about on a certain level. But more importantly, at least in the way that I'm trying to convey the ideas that I see in the words of the tzaddikim in this context, is that more importantly, it's to understand what does Yitzchak mean for me? What does it mean to be Yitzchak? What does it mean to be Mekusher to the Nakuda of Yitzchak in myself? Every Jew has a Nakuda of Avram, a Nakuda of Yitzchak, a Nakuda of Yaakov, a Nakuda of Moshe, of Aaron, of David, of Shlomo. We all have these Nakudas in us. And what does it mean to experience life through the lens of that Yitzchak perspective, through that koyach and the neshama that's referred to as Yitzchak, from that psychological space, from that way of looking that is associated with the world of Yitzchak and the origin story of Yitzchak, the process of Yitzchak, and the ultimate future role of Yitzchak Avinu. That's what we're going to be trying to understand in these series of Shirim. Now, a lot of the ideas are going to be expressive of the same klal. But what I want to do now, in terms of a preparation, is to talk about the shaykhus of Yitzchak Avinu specifically to the future, to redemption, to geula, to the emergence of a fixedness that has always been present in what appeared to be brokenness, but the brokenness prior to the revelation of the fixing appears so real and so expressive that a person begins to doubt, forget, not believe, God forbid, lose hope in the fixedness of all things. And the geula is a shlav, it's another layer being revealed of the fixedness of things. Any situation that I'm in, prior to its fixing, I encounter that moment as broken. I encounter that moment as deficient, as missing something, as in search for something, as yearning after something that promises it a perpetual, promise of fullness. That's a state of brokenness. A state of shvira is where a person's perspective is yearning towards something that is not yet present. And then there's an akuda of tikkun. There's an akuda of tikkun in that moment, which is that everything is present right here, right now. Everything is present right here, right now. And every unfolding, every moment that we have the ability to say, ah, Hashem, you're with me in this moment as well. You were with me in that moment, even though I have no idea how it's possible because I did not see you there. Every unfolding of another recognition that Hashem was with us and is with us in that moment is an inyan of Geula. And that inyan of Geula in each and every one of our lives is going to be very much related to the sugya of Yitzchak Avinu. Now, the Zohar HaKadosh says in Parshas Toldos that it's in the Medrash HaNe'elam that Elu Toldos Yitzchak, Elu Toldos HaSchoik, Elu Toldos HaSchoik, these are the offspring of laughter. This is what the ripple effects of laughter bring into reality. And the Zohar HaKadosh goes into describing what it's talking about when it's talking about laughter. It's talking about the Suda of the Levyasan. It's talking about the eventual revelation that all things were fixed and all things were perpetually connected in spite of the fact that things appeared disconnected. And that Suda of the Levyasan, that's going to take place, as we know, in Gehenna. The only place large enough for that Suda of the Levyasan is going to take place in the hell that people experience in this world, or that is populated in whatever sense. Rav Yerucham Levavitz of Mir says that the lashon of Yordei Gehenim, which is the lashon that's brought down in Maseches Beitza on Daf Lamed Beis, that the Yordei Gehenim, Rav Yerucham Levavitz points out that it doesn't mean that Yordei Gehenim are people who go into Gehenim once at the end of their lives, but Yordei Gehenim is a mashmos that there's a type of experience in life which is to be perpetually on the way towards what one might refer to as Gehenim, or what we described as he'edar, as absence. And the Suda of the Levyasan is going to take place in Gehenna because it's going to be revealed that everything that appeared to be absent is in truth going to be revealed to be full. And that's where the laughter is going to come from. The laughter of redemption is the revelation that that which appeared to be empty is in truth full and was in truth full. And we always knew that it was full, in spite of the fact that we had absolutely no belief whatsoever that it was full. And Elu told us HaSchoik, this Schoik is Makusher, as we see from the Zohar HaKadosh, to Yitzchak Avinu, to the life of Yitzchak Avinu, to the name of Yitzchak, as we saw in last week's Parsha, in Parshas Lech Lecha, that Yitzchak is a name that was given prior to Yitzchak being born. Hashem, so to speak, gave Avram Avinu and Sarah the directive to name their child Yitzchak. Why? Because when Sarah heard about the eventual birth of Yitzchak, she laughed. She laughed, and Avram Avinu laughed, and the whole world was going to laugh. And because the whole world was going to laugh with the emergence of Yitzchak, we're going to call him Yitzchak. So clearly there's a deep and inherent, not simply an incidental, but an inherent, expressive and fundamental connection between Yitzchak and laughter, to the extent that laughter is only possible because of Yitzchak, and Yitzchak is only possible because of laughter. Now, Yitzchak Avinu occupies a very, very strange space within the Torah HaKadosha, within Panimius HaTorah. On the one hand, as is expressive in the life of Yitzchak, as is expressed in the notion that Yitzchak Avinu is identified with Gevura, the Pachad of Yitzchak, a certain fear, a certain paralysis, a certain Charada Gedola, a certain terror at the face of something that is broken in the world, something that is not right in the world. Yitzchak is not proactive, Yitzchak is passive. Yitzchak is not looking to get up and change things. Yitzchak is looking to ensure that things remain the way that they are, because on a certain level, if I try and change the way things are, there's a fear and anxiety that things might get more broken than they already were, at least externally. And because of that anticipatory fear of a breakdown that would make things worse, so there's a procrastination that pushes away the possibility of something new and says, I'd rather rest in what is known, even though it's broken. And that passivity of Yitzchak on an external level is rooted in gevura, in din, in restriction, in fear, in uncertainty, in a difficult presence in this world. And we know that Yitzchak represents the name of Elokim, it represents the name of gevura, of constriction, of hiddenness, of concealment. It's the opposite of the grace and the chesed of Avram Avinu, who's proactive, who moves outwards beyond himself, flowing down from the heights like water that sees expression everywhere until there's a prevention. Yitzchak Avinu is fire, it's constriction, it's withholding, it's withdrawal. But on the other hand, what we see with Yitzchak Avinu is that it's the birthplace of laughter. It's where simcha comes from. We see expressed throughout the writings of the Vilna Gaon, throughout the writings of the Zohar HaKadosh and the Tikkunei Zohar and all of the tzaddikim, that simcha is associated with Yitzchak. Simcha is rooted in Yitzchak. joy, the possibility of joy, the possibility of presence, the possibility of laughing, the possibility of taking things ever so slightly lighter and less seriously in this world, in which we can open ourselves up towards the calmness at the heart of experience as opposed to the frenetic neurosis of all things. That possibility, that joy, that pocket of joy that exists within the heart and the mind of each and every person is only possible because of Yitzchak. And as we saw in the name of the Zohar HaKadosh, that Yitzchak is the laughter of La'asad Lavo, and that Yitzchak is the place of blessing, and that Yitzchak is the place of wealth. We see that Yitzchak is rooted in wealth, in ashirus, in surplus, in excess, in a presentness of all things without any desire, without any restriction. Yitzchak had what he wanted. Yitzchak was calm as all calmness. And the tzaddikim picked up on this discrepancy, obviously. They picked up on the absurdity at the heart of Yitzchak Avinu, that on the one hand, he represents restriction and constriction and withdrawal. And on the other hand, Yitzchak represents laughter and redemption and transversals and revolutions and redemptions and openings and possibilities and births and wealth. To the extent that there's a teaching that's brought down, and this is a teaching that we've discussed together before in previous shirim, it's a teaching that's brought down by the Beis Yosef, Sklusi Ogan Aleinu, and Magid Me'Yesharim, a teaching that's brought down from the Magid, that he was receiving teachings from a Magid that is very much associated with the light of Bina, like the Ramchal received from this Malach also, whose name is rooted in an inner hearing. This inner inaudible voice is rooted in Yitzchak Avinu. It's the Shmiya of Bina. So it's not surprising that it's this tzaddik specifically through the inner auditory experience that's rooted in Bina, which is the shoresh of Yitzchak, Ani li Bina, v'li Gevura, I am Bina, and Gevura emerges from me. As the Zohar HaKadosh says that Yitzchak Avinu is Bina, Avram Avinu is Chachma, Yitzchak is Bina, Yaakov Avinu is Das or Keser. So the fact that the Beis Yosef HaKadosh was receiving this from the Malach Shmui, etc., was because it was deeply connected with the same idea of Gevura, of sweetening Gevura. And the teaching is as follows, that when Avimelech and his Tsar Tzava try and make a treaty with Avram Avinu because they see his successes, they say, Re'eh, we saw that you have bracha, we saw that you have something good going on here, and we want to be part of this. We want to join in a treaty of sorts with you. And they joined in and they make some financial agreement. But when it comes to Yitzchak Avinu, when they see the wealth by Yitzchak Avinu, it says, Re'eh Ra'inu, for we have truly seen. And the Beis Yosef HaKadosh asks in Magid Me'Yesharim, and the Sod Yesharim asks us as well, Rav Gershon Henach Liner of Radzin, in the name of Rav Simcha Bunim of Pshischa in Parshas Toldos, where it says, Re'eh Ra'inu, we have surely seen. Why is it a doubled lashon of Re'eh? Why is it that we have seen, we have seen? Why not the singular form of seeing? And so what the tzaddikim say is that when it comes to Avram Avinu, when it comes to Chesed, when it comes to things moving smoothly in one's life, when it comes to the boiker of Avraham, to the illumination of the mind associated with the chesed of Avram Avinu, the fluidity of all things, the enmeshment of all things, the connectivity and the smooth flow that one experiences. So at that point, it's not such a chiddush. There's no novelty in seeing goodness there. And all I have to do is look once. It's explicit, it's real, it's present. Everybody could see the blessing that emerges from a place like that. It's easy street, it's the good life. But when it comes to Yitzchak Avinu, when it comes to Gevura, when it comes to Din, it's not apparent at first glance. A person has to do a double take. A person has to return to what they already were certain about, yet question their original certainty and break through the sheath of that certainty to see things in a new way. That double take, that doubling, that once and that twice, that birthplace of laughter, ha and ha. The doubled experience of I thought something was one way and yet it transforms itself into another way. Re'eh Ra'inu, we have surely seen, we do a double take. Because by Yitzchak, why are you rich? How do you have growth? How do you have exponential growth? You're Gevura, you're meant to be restriction and constriction and removal. But when a person has eyes of Re'eh Ra'inu, when a person has eyes of I will look and I will look inside of that looking, I will allow myself to question my certainties and perhaps open myself up to the possibility that things are not quite exactly the way that I assume them to be, that's where I open myself up to the possibility of laughter. That's where I open myself up to the possibility of redemption. That in order to understand the paradox, not to undo the paradox, there's no undoing of the paradox. The paradox is the very essence of Yitzchak Avinu. It's the impossible upholding of two paradoxical truths that coexist at once, with neither diminishing the expression of the other, and in somehow, some way, through spooky action at a distance, each one giving chayas and vitality to the other one, to the extent that these two twin pulsations at the heart of the Yitzchak experience, which is on the one hand a concealment, on the other hand a revelation, on the one hand a removal, on the other hand an expression, that the dance, the impossible dance of this paradox, is the very slok of Yitzchak itself. So we're not going to try and undo the paradox. We're going to try and enter into the paradox of Yitzchak Avinu. We're going to try and learn what it means to laugh like Yitzchak Avinu. We're going to learn what it means to find Yitzchak Avinu in ourselves. And tonight, not to go too far tonight, because Be'ezus Hashem, what we'll do is we're going to learn sugyos in Yitzchak Avinu, and what I'm going to try and do, b'li neder, is to try and learn it from Svarim, to show one makor for each inyan where we see this explicitly in the words of the tzaddikim, where we see that the tzaddikim understood deeply every possible expression that we're possibly searching for in our lives. And if a person is attuned to what they're searching for, what they want from the Torah, then the Torah begins to offer itself to them. This is what the Sabbath Mishpatim is all about, that the Torah is like a princess who hides within a tower, hidden away, revealing itself and concealing itself the closer one comes. From afar, it appears that things are revealed. The closer I come, it's concealed. The Torah HaKadosh reveals and conceals herself to each and every individual. As the Sod Yisharm says in his Perush on the Zohar HaKadosh, Teferes HaChanuchi, that each and every Yid, just as each and every Yid is a Nekuda in the Torah, an Os in the Torah, each and every Yid has their Nekuda in Torah, their idea. And that idea is going to be found in every possible iteration of Torah. That the entire Torah is just infinite expressions of that person's one singular idea. And we're going to see through the Torah of Yitzchak Avinu, we're going to see how the tzaddikim were giving us access to everything that we're searching for, everything that can possibly be deemed therapeutic and healthy in transforming a person's life from a place of despondency into a place of redemption, from a place of hopelessness into a place of hope, is within and hidden within the Torah, which is Mipi HaGvura, which is the Shoresh of Yitzchak Avinu. It's the Ayalo Shel Yitzchak, that shofar of Har Sinai, which is associated with the expression of the Torah. Yitzchak is the Torah. Limitation, letters, writing, it's all part and parcel of the same sugya. What we'll look at right now is simply a Gemara in Masechah Shabbos, which is going to be the source text, the proof text that we're going to be working with throughout these series of Shirim to gain a little bit more insight into where is Yitzchak within us and where are we within Yitzchak, and how can we experience the laughter as well as travel through the difficulties of Yitzchak to uncover the secret of the Schaik of Yitzchak. The Yesha Amiti, Schaik of Yitzchak, is Rosh Tevo Shai. It's the Yesha Amiti. It's the real way of experiencing this world in its truest form, of seeing the infinite light of the Rabbanu Shleilim in it. So this is on Daf Pei Tes Amud Beis in Masechah Shabbos, and just a remez l'davar. Tzadi is a tzaddik. On Shabbos, in Masechah Shabbos, there's a neshama yisera that each and every person is a tzaddik. Each and every person is revealed. We know that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was referred to as Shabbos. Shabbos is the nekud of the tzaddik. Tzaddik hatamar yifrach, or zarua letzaddik yirili shreilev simcha. It's mukusher to the tzaddikim of Moshe, Yosef, and David, as we see by Shalosh Shuddis, which is really just the way of properly understanding our relationships with the neshamas of the tzaddikim who were nostalgic at that time. And so Shabbos is the Indian of being a tzaddik, and then on Shabbos, Klal Yisrael is deemed as tzaddikim. There's a klal gadol that a person doesn't lie on Shabbos, because b'shayrasham, each and every yid with the nekud of Shabbos lives the experience of or hatzaddik. But Pei Tes Amud Beis is right before tzadi. It's right before a person uncovers that darga of tzadi, of tzaddik, of daf tzadi in Masechah Shabbos. It's that place right before feeling the true value of being a tzaddik in Masechah Shabbos, in Shabbos. And because Yitzchak Avinu is this paradoxical space where we're going to find closeness by way of distance, and distance, the more we assume we have closeness, so it's not about reaching the ois tzadi, which is the or zarua l'tzaddik, but it's about being very, very close to the light of the tzaddik, being very, very close, but yet recognizing that there will always be a gap. I'm not at the Ois Tzadi in Masechah Shabbos, I'm still holding at Pei Tes Amud Beis. And the goal is to understand the gap that exists between Pei Tes Amud Beis, which is almost like the 49th Shar of Bina, versus the Tzadi, which is going to be the 50th Shar of Bina. What it means to live in that Halal HaPanui, what it means to live and learn how to traverse that impossible place of absence and distance, which is associated with Yitzchak, as we're going to see from Rabbi Nachman in Torah Samech Daled, in Boya Paro. So this is what Chazal tell us on Masechah Shabbos, Daf Pei Tes Amud Beis. Amr of Shmuel bar Nachmani. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, Amr of Yonasan, in the name of Rav Yonasan, my dechsiv, ki ata avinu, ki Avram lo yadanu v'Yisrael yakirenu, ata Hashem avinu go'alenu me'olam shimcha. So the pasuk says that you are our father. Avram doesn't recognize us. Yaakov doesn't recognize us. You, Hashem, our Father, our Redeemer, forever and perpetually eternal is your name. La'asid lavo, in the future, when it comes time for the revelation of the future, for the possibility of openness, for the possibility of things continuing beyond their endings, from redemption, from the arrival of Mashiach, in whatever way that manifests through Hesach Hadas, it should be immediate. Hi'ata avinu, la'asad lavo, in the future, yomer la HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to Avram and he's going to say, Banecha chatu, your children have transgressed, your children have missed the point. There's a chisaron, there's a lack, there's a deficiency. They were not successful in the way that external expression deems success. Amar lefanav Rebbeinu Shalom, yimchu al kedusha shemecha, erase them for the sake of the glory of your name. What possible thing can we even talk about when it comes to the glory of your name, Rebbeinu Shalom? Even Nishmas Yisrael, chas v'shalom. We'll see. Avram Avinu's answer here is not the one that we see as right, because the person always has to be machabed the ben over the av, as we see. That in truth, Nishmas Yisrael is rooted in the highest place. That's what Yitzchak Avinu teaches us. So Avram Avinu says that erase the inequity, erase the transgression, or that negativity, as Rav Tzadok explains. For the sake of your holy name, just get rid of it. Amar Emer Yaakov, Dahaver Tsar Gilabanim. So Klal Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on behalf of Klal Yisrael, says, let's go ask Yaakov Avinu. He struggled with children. Hayale Tsar Gilabanim. He experienced what it means to struggle. He had the 12 Shvatim. He understood. He could be sympathetic. He could be empathetic to the struggle of Klal Yisrael. He understands what it's like to struggle. After the Bayrachmi Alayu, maybe Yaakov Avinu is going to come to ask Rachamim. Again, Rachamim Davka, because that's the avoid of Yaakov Avinu. Amar le Banecha Chatu, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Malachim come and say that your children have transgressed, your children are stuck. Amar lefan of Rebbeinu Shalom, Yimchu al Kedusha Shremecha. Erase it. Reveal the glory of your name. Don't wait for Klal Yisrael to come back. Don't wait for the Chisaron to be mushlam. Don't wait for that which appears broken to be fixed. Just fix it immediately. Forget about it. Amar le b'sabi time b'darkta ke'etza. Saba, Avram Avinu doesn't have a reason, and Yaakov Avinu doesn't have a reason. Amar le the Yitzchak. They came to Yitzchak Avinu, Banecha chatu, your children have transgressed. Your children have transgressed. Amar lefanav Rebbeinu Shalom. He says in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Banai v'le banecha, my kids and not your kids. My children are not your children. You're placing the burden of responsibility on Klal Yisrael and Avos HaKadoshim, on the Neshama in this world. No, Rebbeinu Shalom. The only possibility is if you take your share as well here. Because you brought us here. You put us in this world. So he says, my kids, not your kids. At the moment that Bnei Yisrael understood the secret of Nasa v'Nishma, of receiving the Torah, of what it means to laugh with Yitzchak, Karas Lem B'nei B'chayri. At that point, you recognize them as your B'nei B'chayri, as the essential point of all things. Nishmas Yisrael, the Chisaron at the heart of each and every individual, the Malchus of each of us is Be'emes going to be the Eishes Chayla Teres Paila. It's going to be the crown of the husband. It's the Malchus Agnuza Baradla. It's the concealment of this worldliness that is in truth rooted in the loftiest possible expression of the Rebbeinu Shalom's hiddenness in this world, which is the Reisha Bloas Yada, the unknowable head, the Gar of Atik, and that high place. Achshav b'ni v'loy b'necha, now they're my kids and not your kids. V'oid kama chatu, kama shnoisav shladam. And really, if we're going to be looking at them and holding them responsible, how much did they really mess up? How many years does a person live? Shivim shana. Take away 20 years when they're not going to be considered liable. So what's remaining? 50 years. Take off 25 years, which is the nighttime, which is the natural concealment of this world. You can't expect them. You can't expect them to break free from that. Pashaluhu koi, in the end of the day, you have 25 hours, which is koi, which is malchus. Daltarti sariu palgid tali meichad beis v'kisei. Take away all the time that is allotted to human necessity, and you're going to split that in half. So imata soivel es kulam, if Rebbeinu Shalom you're willing to take all of it, mutav, that's great, then everything's good. Vimlav palga layu palga lech. And if not, I'll take half and you take half. I'm willing to split. I'm willing to take it. And if you want to say that everything should be on me, hakrivas nafshi kaimech. I gave myself to you, Ribono Shel Olam. I died for you, Ribono Shel Olam. I lived in the concealment for you, Ribono Shel Olam. I was ne'ekad al gabei mizbeach. Pischa v'yamru. At that point, Klal Yisrael is going to open and say, Ki ata avinu, you Yitzchak Avinu are our father. You Yitzchak Avinu are our father. And the Gemara continues, and we're going to see the continuation of the Gemara throughout the Shirim. But we see that it's going to be Yitzchak specifically who teaches us how to get into Geula. It's going to be Yitzchak who teaches us how to laugh. It's going to be the counterintuitive concealment of Yitzchak Avinu that is going to reveal the infinite possibilities of presence that a person is experiencing at every single moment in this world, especially the Yitzchak moments, especially the moments where a person has to say Re'ei Re'inu. And with the laughter of Yitzchak, Be'ezras Hashem, we're going to see Yitzchak as tzimtzum, as concealment, as possibility of impossibility, of Ein Shem Yesh Ba'olam Klal. We're going to see how Yitzchak Avinu is mukusher to all of the tzaddikim. The Arizal was Yitzchak. Rabbi Nachman wanted to be called Yitzchak. The Kamarna was Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, all of the tzaddikim who are mukusher to the or of Yitzchak Avinu. And we're going to see how each and every one of them are giving us, and the base medrash of Ishbitz and Radzin is essential here, but we're going to see what it means to learn how to laugh with Yitzchak, what it means to be present with Yitzchak, what it means to be brazen like Yitzchak Avinu, and Be'ezras Hashem, we'll learn how to laugh with Yitzchak Avinu as well.